This traditional shoemaker with roots dating back to the 19th century has a big footprint here in Asia. But can his CEO put the groove back into Bata? This week on Managing Asia, I talked to Alexis Nasard. He's confident, direct, and unapologetic. Alexis Nasard, the executive who was headhunted in 2016 to reignite his 123-year-old company.
In every industry I run, my philosophy is not to start by looking at what is complex. It's by start recognizing what is simple. What is easy about footwear? What is easy about footwear is that it's growing everywhere. The footwear market is growing 5% around the world, and I can't say that for many other product categories.
Well worn from 1894, Bata has stepped forward as a formidable shoemaker with a long heritage. Originally from Czechoslovakia, the family business has a foot in over 70 countries, from Milan to India to Singapore, to becoming the world's biggest shoemaker by volume. But the brand is showing some wear and tear, fighting an old-school image with a mature appeal.
We are looking to change many of our taglines to make them much more contemporary and much more appealing, because the mantra for the full marketing department at Bata is to be part of the conversation. Because today at Bata we are oftentimes part of the environment, part of the furniture, if you like. You know, everybody asks, do you know Bata? People would say yes, with affection, with respect. But if I tell them, what are the top 3 shoe brands you can think about? They wouldn't always say Bata. And we want them to start saying that. And we are starting to see that in many parts of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
But can Nasard put the groove back into the brand? The man who had worked at P&G and Heineken with no experience in footwear.
I knew plenty about the footwear business. First, that a good day can never be a good day if you're not wearing good shoes. I know that I personally love shoes, because I always say a men's elegance is having a good pair of shoes and a nice watch. And I know that it's an exploding and a growing industry. So what's there not to like?
With the sole purpose of refreshing Bata's image, Nasard is out to find that perfect fit for the brand and get back what he calls its swagger on the global runway. Why do you think the brand's fallen behind? As CEO, what are you doing to fix it?
Yeah. Well, first let me, as we say in French, let me put the church in the middle of the village, which means correcting the fundamentals. Bata, for the 2nd year in a row, is one of the most successful footwear companies in the world. We are growing turnover in the mid-single digits, and we are growing profit in the high double digits for the 2nd year in a row. In many of our top 5 markets, we are growing market share against some of the most entrenched competitors. So the company is coming back, and coming back strongly. Now, if you step back and you look at the structural elements of our business, particularly the brand, is the brand as appealing, as top of mind, as relevant as we'd like it to be? No. And what is the reason? Is because for a very long time we haven't really managed the brand. We have let it be a trademark for decent shoes around the world. We've never come up with the global stewardship behind it, global campaign, activation platforms, social media levers, celebrities, ambassadors, all these things that make the difference in today's world between a brand that has cha-cha-cha and a brand that doesn't have it.
So as CEO, you think you can improve its image? You're confident you can do that?
I know I can improve its image, and we have already started improving its image. When we look at the image data in different parts of the world where we have embarked on these activities, we see it moving. And the acid test to see whether you are improving your brand image is the extent to which your brand can absorb pricing. In different parts of the world, we've raised pricing per unit between 5 and 8%, and the volume line hasn't budged. That means consumers are willing to pay increasingly a premium for the brand.
Let's talk more about the image, because for a long time Bata is perceived as a local brand. Not many people would have guessed it originated from the Czech Republic and now headquartered in Switzerland. As CEO, are you trying to change that local brand image?
I'm trying to nuance the global-local continuum.
What exactly does that mean?
I will tell you. Basically, there are global brands which are global that have no local touch. For example, when you buy a Louis Vuitton is a global brand. Whether you buy it in Singapore, in Hong Kong, or in Nigeria, you're buying a piece of Paris, right? That's completely global. When you buy some brands that have a global image, but have some level of local resonance, right?
So when they buy Bata, what are they buying?
So what are they buying today? In most instances, still they think they're buying a local brand. Tomorrow, they're going to think they're buying a European brand that has a history and a geography and a commitment to their home country, which that develops special designs for their home country and uses a full-fledged industrial process and systems and ecosystem within their country to develop and sell these shoes. Because as you know, we're very, very committed to benefit the local communities in which we play. Take Uniqlo. Uniqlo is a Japanese brand, but they don't sell themselves as a Japanese brand. Uniqlo on Fifth Avenue in New York is becoming increasingly a New York staple on the high street for fast fashion. So, and they use also capsule collections with US designers.
So you're trying to be a Uniqlo?
In the way we manage the global-local equation, yes. In the way we manage our business model, no, because it's a different business model and it's a different category. So all this to say, you're not global or local, that there are shades of gray, and we are trying to define our own shade of gray.
Okay, so defining your own shade of gray, coming up with your own local flavor, does that somehow work for or against you when trying to appeal to millennials who basically grew up with shoe brands like Nike, Adidas, and other international shoe labels?
Millennials are the most loaded species with paradoxes. Millennials are the most paradoxical generation. Millennials are the ones who want to feel they are part of a herd, but they feel that they have their own individuality in every walk of life. Millennials are the ones who kill themselves for a brand like Supreme.
Do millennials like Bata?
Millennials do not like Bata as much as I'd like them today. But millennials are increasingly liking Bata. We're starting to have some green shoots, because we're starting to develop marketing campaigns and product designs that appeal to them. So millennials today are also the ones who go buy a beer, which is a craft beer, because it was built around the chimney. So you do have these paradoxical behaviors amongst them, and which gives us quite a bit of room to play.
So you can win over the millennial customer?
Yes, and not only we can, we have to. Because otherwise we're going to have the main constituency of our consumer base, which will be aging over time, with the implication it has on brand image.
Well, Bata is not just a shoe retailer, it's also a shoemaker, producing about 50% of its shoes in its 24 factories. Why not outsource everything? Is it all about trying to keep to the company's heritage, the family's heritage of retaining its shoe production history?
It's not pure sentimentalism. It's partially sentimentalism, if you like. No, we have a very clear manufacturing strategy. We will manufacture in-house in instances where we make shoes that nobody else can make, or we can make the same shoes as anyone can make, but at a much lower cost structure, or we are forced to make shoes because of legislation and taxation, or when our own in-house making is part of our marketing storytelling. For example, you know, with the heritage shoes, the whole consumer message will be a lot more strong and credible when we tell them we are making them in the factory that we've had since 1922. So when it is an integral part of the marketing storytelling, we keep them.
So it's building up your reputation with the customer. But operating these production facilities, opening retail outlets are big cost components. What are your margins like at the end of the day?
We have very competitive margins. And our margins
are they in the
improving
single or double digits?
And let me tell you how they're evolving. I think that might be more insightful. We have, over the past 2 years, increased gross margin by 260 basis points. So we are really having a very, very effective agenda of optimizing our margin. And our margin is moving very, very fast in the right direction. We are fairly confident that we will have margins in the next 2 years in the top tier of the footwear industry. So we are moving very, very fast on that. And that is done through a combination of activities. One is to make sure that we have better product collections. When you have better product collections that consumers really want, first, they're willing to spend more for them. Second, you have less propensity to mark them down. That's quite important. Second one, we've created a process to manage markdowns, which is a lot more centralized and criteria-based, not what I call desperation-based. Oh, we haven't sold enough, so let's bring down the price. We moved out from that. And lastly, we have a cost cabinet which is running full-time throughout the year. As we develop more capabilities and more investment in growth, we have a cost cabinet that is constantly looking to weed out the muscle from the fat to make sure that we develop capabilities without eroding our margin.
What are your margins now? And what are you targeting to have?
They're becoming pretty competitive.
Are they single or double digits?
They're very competitive. If you know the top tier of the industry, you should have an idea. But I can't do more than that.
We're talking about 10% and above?
No, I can't tell you more specifics.
You compete in both the athletic and the non-athletic segments, but
Yeah.
given the proliferation of brands like Nike and Adidas, and even fashion retailers like
Yeah.
H&M and Zara also getting into shoe business, what are you doing to pull in sales given the intense competition out there?
We will play. One of the strengths of our company is that we play the whole repertoire of footwear. There is no one category of shoe we don't play in. Kids, women, men, formal, semi-formal, athleisure, athletic, we play everywhere. Now, do we want to be the best in every single one of them? No, that would not be a realistic and an executable strategy. But we make sure that we are best in class in finite categories that we have defined. For example, women athleisure, we want to be the best in class. You can, of course, buy women athleisure at Zara, but the quality you're going to find versus a Bata is different because we are manufacturer. We are footwear maker.
Okay, so does being affordable mean that it limits how much you can increase prices?
No, because gross margin in footwear are very, very large. You can afford to have great technology, superb comfort, and still have decent profitability.
It's not really complicated to get into the shoe business. Barriers of entry are low. Are you bracing for more competition, especially here in Asia?
In Asia, yes, we're bracing for more competition. Outside of Asia, there's quite a bit of consolidation actually happening. Some parts in Europe, for example, there are just too many, and there is a tendency towards consolidation. So we are bracing for both ends of the spectrum, and we have to be extreme. I mean, one of the cultural drives we're trying to bring to the company is really increased external focus. Look at what the market is doing, what our competitors are doing, defining our competition in an honest sense. What do I mean by that? Most people define their competitors as the entities that resemble them the most. No, your competitor is not the one who looks like you the most. Your competitor is the one who is actually fighting for your consumer's wallet. It's the one who's fighting for it. And if he doesn't look like you, too bad. It still is your competitor. Once you've made that reckoning, the entire activity system in terms of design, pricing, marketing, promotions, distribution need to be geared up to stay competitive versus that main alternative.
So how do you define your competitor? Who's your biggest rival?
And we do not, well, it's an interesting question. On a global scale, as a global company, the closest thing that comes to a rival is H&M. But on a local scale, the main competitor varies very differently, whether you're talking about Peru, whether you're talking about Kenya, whether you talk about China or Malaysia. They're all completely different. Because remember, in the end, how can you define your competitor is when you know who your target consumer is. And the good news is that we have a very clear definition of who is our target consumer. Her name is Angela. We have defined her demographically, attitudinally, and also from an insight standpoint. So it's very easy for us to know where she shops, how she shops, with whom she shops, what are her key frustrations and aspirations.
And just to clarify, Angela is a fictitious name that you've made up.
Correct.
To help your employees identify with the customer.
Exactly. And she's universal, by the way. That really makes sure that our global activity system maintains all our global synergies in terms of having strategic focus while maintaining our local idiosyncrasies, because Chinese Angela and Kenyan Angela are not totally the same in every aspect.
Do you have a male version?
Yes, her husband.
What's his name?
Roberto.
Do they have children?
Yes, two.
As CEO, you say you want to grow revenue by 50% and double profits over the next 5 years. Where will most of that growth come from?
Yes. From a revenue standpoint, the bulk of our growth is going to come from Asia. This is where you have what I call the triple heaven, which is more consumers,
the rising
more
middle class,
more urbanization. That is why we've divided the world into 4 clusters of countries, which are rockets, foundations, opportunities, and fix-it opportunities. So we have markets which we call rockets, where we really press the accelerator on everything. We invest in people, in capital investment.
And that's
we
Asia?
don't expect a few countries in Asia, not all Asia, a few countries in Asia, where we really spend ahead of the curve because we're confident that the return will come and it'll be sustainable. There are countries where we draw top and bottom line concomitantly because it's a big established market, but the headroom is not as high because we're already very developed in them. And there are markets which are in limbo that need to be fixed, where their model and their role in our mix is not yet clear. And then they go on through 18 months surgery period until they are fixed. And there are the opportunity markets where we see promise, we don't know a lot about them, and we want to find out.
Like
basically, Vietnam. It's one country where we say we want to dip our toe in the water. You know, we just opened up in Vietnam. We have like a dozen stores right now. They look very promising. It's a really big market. It's not a very contested market. How big, how quickly can it be in Vietnam? We have to see.
Stay with us, more with Alexis Nasard, CEO of Bata Shoes, in just a moment.
To the last point, we closed stores to move to e-commerce. I don't believe in this a single minute. This is too simplistic and too convenient. Nobody is successful by shutting down stores and moving to e-commerce.
Managing Asia will be right back. Hi, I'm Christine Tan, and thanks for watching Managing Asia on CNBC Live. You can check out more of our great content by clicking on the videos on screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for the very best in feature programming. Thanks for watching.